gardening. So without further ado, when you're ready.
Bueno, buenos días.
Good morning. And first of all, I'd like to thank Fundación Once and the organizers of this wonderful conference for giving us the opportunity to participate. I was just discussing that prior to starting the session with the members of this workshop. It appears like intellectual disability traditionally has always been absent from these fora that talk about that address new technologies. And ICTs, but that appears to be changing, and it's good to see that we have a specific workshop on that today. I want to talk to you about social integration and labor integration for people with disabilities, this type of disability. Let's look at what I'd like to do is address the real problem, the problem they have, labor problems that we have people with this sort of disabilities, and what sort of solutions we're coming up with, what sort of recommendations we have as well, and then how can we relate these 2 points with new technologies, and in particular with mobile technologies. We can do that through 2 examples. We have 2 examples, 2 projects. One of them is completed, and another one we're currently developing with the Instituto de Biomecánica de Valencia, the Valencia Biomechanic Institute, and we're creating GEAPS, an agency for employment of people with these disabilities. So very briefly, those of you that don't know us, my center, the Mechanical Center Valencia, is a technological center. We carry out research and development and training in various fields related to improving quality of life of these individuals. For example, functional assessment, rehab, technologies for personal independence, design for all, ergonomics at work, and other fields where we and other things that I want more remote to the contents of this conference. Right. First of all, some brushstrokes on some of the features, some of the aspects that we find in this binomial between disability, intellectual disability, and work. This is a complex problem, and many different types, and obviously and particularly nowadays, this is a very important topic. Work, as you know, is a way of integrating people in society, but also of independence, and this is very important for people with some sort of disability, and especially people with intellectual disability. One of the problems is, of course, the lack of independence in certain aspects of their daily life. Our experience, as I said, that the spectrum of disability in this case is very large. There can be there are many different types and varieties of disability and of independence and ways of being able to face and being able to cope with life. But a lot of these people can work in optimal conditions, that is, in normal conditions, if the job post, the position is adapted to those needs. I mean, this is nothing new. I think that applies to most of us, doesn't it? We all work better, or in optimum conditions, or we can perform better if the job is adapted to our skills and our abilities, and be as it may, whichever that may be. And this, of course, there can be difficulties for all sort of people, but for people with intellectual disability, they tend to have certain specific problems when they have to carry out a certain specific job. In general, in our experience from our employment agency, one of the problems we experience, not always the case, but perhaps we might say in general is slow performance, the need to frequently check with the person in charge in order to do the job, carry the job, which is part of it. The need to have a constant supervision, because sometimes they need more time than required to do something, or they lose concentration, or they get stuck in a particular point of the job. Distraction, also inadequate perception of time, and they don't have they have difficulty in adapting to the pace of work that a company may have. For example, a company that may be company that has that requires a certain level of performance time-wise. Other problems that may arise is communication difficulties with colleagues or with the person in charge, and in the way and of communicating, and also the possibility of communicating. Also, difficulties in traveling, commuting to work, for example, that may be an issue. And that can be very complicated. Also, this can be added difficulty in people, for example, where they have, in the cases, cleaning services or landscaping or gardening services. They rotate them, and then they have to memorize or learn new ways to work. Also, inadequate working habits. This may be, for example, postures at work, the way you carry out certain tasks, the different steps in which you carry out a process, which is maybe not the best to be efficient or to carry on at the right pace, and the inadequate perception of labor risks, not just the existing risks, but how to protect yourself against these risks, and also interactions with being able to with office furniture, equipment, how to use whoever adequately, and so on. Now these issues, these are the most of the problems we found, incidentally. And you find these also in most in bibliography, and also in the work that we've been conducting in other companies. Not all these problems are not always present, and not on everyone, and of course they're differently for different people. So it really depends on the degree of disability, the environment, the strategies at work that the person might use, or that the colleagues use, or the monitors use to adapt them to the existing conditions, or the training that the person has to adapt to the workplace. So they're general problems, but you cannot generalize, if I may, because everyone has specific issues. So these things have to be adapted to each